B3C20. No one noticed the small puppy, waiting in the rain. The rain fell in quiet sheets, turning the streets into a soft blur of grey and silver. People hurried by under umbrellas, heads down, lost in their own worlds, paying no mind to the small, shivering figure tucked beneath a flickering streetlight. A little puppy, no bigger than a loaf of bread, huddled against the cold asphalt. Its thin fur soaked through, its eyes wide and searching. No one noticed him, no one stopped. He whimpered softly, a sound so delicate it could easily be swallowed by the hum of passing cars. Yet in that tiny cry there was a profound plea for someone to see him, to care. The puppy's world had changed in an instant. Not long ago he had known warmth, the safety of a human hand, the comfort of a small bed, and the gentle voice of someone who loved him. But life had turned cruel and indifferent. He had been left behind, abandoned without explanation, a victim of circumstances he could not understand. He tried to shake off the water that clung to his fur, pressing himself tighter into the cold ground, hoping perhaps that the storm would pass and someone would notice. Hours seemed to stretch into eternity. The rain fell relentlessly, soaking through the puppy's fragile frame. He pressed his nose to the wet concrete, following the scent of distant food scraps and the faint traces of warmth from nearby shops. Each sound, the squeak of tires on wet pavement, the shuffle of hurried feet, was a potential promise of safety that faded into disappointment. He was invisible, a ghost among the busy lives of people who had their own problems, their own rushing steps, their own umbrellas that kept them dry and oblivious. Yet even in the midst of his fear, the puppy's spirit did not entirely give up. He lifted his little head to the grey sky and let out a tentative bark, a sound that was more hope than anger, more plea than complaint. He didn't understand why he was alone, why no one came for him, but instinct told him to survive, to move, to search. And so he did, shivering and soaked, slipping along puddles and debris, following the faint scent of life. At a corner, the puppy found a small cardboard box, partially collapsed, as if someone had once tried to shelter something inside it. He climbed in, curling his tiny body into the smallest shape possible, trying to protect himself from the cold. The rain still dripped through the gaps, but for a moment, he felt almost safe. Almost. He closed his eyes and let himself imagine a warmth that was no longer there. The gentle touch of a human hand, the quiet comfort of being held. He dreamed of kindness, though every instinct told him to be wary. For life had taught him that hope could be fragile. Hours passed and the night grew darker. The city lights blurred into halos on the wet streets, the hum of distant traffic lulling the puppy into an uneasy half-sleep. He dreamed of running through fields, of soft grass under his paws, of someone laughing and calling his name with love in their voice. But reality pulled him back every time the cold seeped into his bones, and every time the wind whispered through empty streets. Then, a sound unlike the rest broke through the monotony of the storm. A soft, gentle voice calling, "Hey, little one, are you okay?" The puppy lifted his head, ears perked, and his little heart leapt. From the shadows emerged a figure with a raincoat, kneeling carefully, extending a hand. There was no fear in the voice, no annoyance, only a softness that wrapped around the puppy like a warm blanket. Hesitantly, the little creature crawled forward, unsure if this was another moment of disappointment or the miracle his small heart had been waiting for. The stranger scooped him up, cradling him against their chest, and the puppy felt a rush of warmth he thought he had forgotten. The storm still poured outside, but in the crook of that human's arms it could not touch him. The little body trembled, not from cold, but from relief, from the sudden realization that someone had finally noticed. Tears mingled with rain on the stranger's face as they murmured comforting words, and the puppy pressed his wet nose against their neck, letting himself be vulnerable for the first time in what felt like forever. Wrapped in a towel and carried into the safety of a small, dry home, the puppy's eyes began to close. The sound of a kettle boiling, the hum of electricity, the faint scent of blankets and food, it was all a new world. He tasted warmth for the first time, felt love in its simplest, purest form. The stranger set a small dish of water and food before him, and for the first time in days, he ate without fear, without hesitation. Every bite was a declaration: I am here, I am safe, I am seen. Days turned into weeks, and the little puppy, once invisible, began to bloom. His coat dried and shone with health, his legs strengthened, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity instead of fear. He followed the stranger everywhere, tilting his head at every sound, jumping into laps, and curling at night beside his rescuer with complete trust. The trauma of abandonment lingered in small moments, a flinch at a sudden hand, a wary glance at strangers, but it was tempered by the constant presence of care, by the undeniable truth that he mattered, that he was loved. In the quiet evenings, when the rain would fall against the windows and the world seemed still, the puppy would curl up and dream. Dreams of fields, of warm sunshine, of human voices calling him with joy and laughter. But more than anything, he dreamed of never being invisible again, of the small miracles that come when someone notices the ones society overlooks, the creatures who wait quietly in the rain, hoping for a chance at love. It was a simple truth, yet a powerful one. Sometimes the smallest, weakest, most overlooked souls carry the greatest capacity for love, and often it is not their fault that the world has ignored them. But it is always within our power to change that, to reach out, to offer shelter, to see with empathy. One small act of noticing, one simple choice to care, can turn a life around, can transform fear into hope, abandonment into belonging, loneliness into the warmth of home. And as the little puppy rested, his tiny body finally still, a single truth lingered in the hearts of those who watched. No one is too small to matter, no plea is too quiet to hear, and every life deserves the chance to be seen and loved. If this story moved you, take a moment to remember those waiting quietly in the shadows. Comment your thoughts, share this story, and consider spreading compassion in the world. And don't forget to like and subscribe to follow more tales that remind us of the power of care, hope, and love. This story is a fictional or AI-generated narrative created to promote compassion and awareness about animal welfare. No animals were harmed,